Welcome everyone. This is the fortnightly SIG etcd community meeting. My name is James. I'm an etcd maintainer, and this is our fortnightly meeting with an open agenda. I will put the link to our shared Google Doc into chat. Anyone that is subscribed to the etcd dev Google Groups mailing list will be able to propose agenda items in the Google Doc for us to cover. Let me just bring up our first item now. So welcome to Caslin, who's going to give us an overview of the new contributor orientation. And I will hand over to you now. Caslin, did you want me to stop the screen share? Over to you.
Yeah, you'll need to, I guess if you stop sharing, I'll be able to share. Let me also set myself up here and give myself my speaker notes. And, oh, this is going to be a problem. Well,
That's interesting.
right.
I don't actually have a stop share. Oh no, it's working for you anyway. Cool. Over to you, Caslin. Thank you.
Yeah. I have got it. All right. So I designed this little overview of new contributor orientation oriented at anyone who applied for the mentoring program but wasn't selected. Does that sound good to folks? Should I skip over some things? That sound useful?
Yeah. No,
Cool.
that's good. Just for context, I think we'll give it a little bit of time for Wenjia possibly to be able to join, but in this call, I think we want to make the announcements for the new mentees. And yeah, this is an option for folks as well. Yeah.
This will be a good opportunity to go over what your mentoring program is and isn't. I made this with some assumptions about what your mentoring program is, so please hop in and correct me. So, I'm going to tell you all a little bit about new contributor orientation. We haven't announced who was selected for the mentoring program for etcd yet, but if you weren't selected, I don't want you to be discouraged, and I want you to understand why you may or may not have been. So, if you weren't selected for mentoring, you might feel like maintainers are always talking about how overwhelmed they are. I'm here trying to help, so why is no one training me to help? I have felt this way before. I have talked to many contributors who have felt this way. So let me go over a little bit about what mentoring cohorts are generally intended to do and why you might feel this way. So, this is a look at our rough contributor ladder. There's a concept of increasing responsibility and ownership and trust in the Kubernetes project. So, someone who's brand new to the project might be what we consider a non member contributor, where you hop in, you do something every now and then, but you're not deeply engaged with any particular part of the project. You don't know any particular area all that well. And so from there are these increasing levels of responsibility and trust where you get more abilities to interact with the project. You might be able to approve code for uh, the project. You might own specific areas as a lead of some sort. So, granted that there is this concept of a ladder of increasing responsibility and trust, most of our mentoring cohorts are meant to do something like this: take someone who is already familiar with an area a little bit, or at least has the requisite skills that that area needs, and train them enough in how contributing to that area works for them to take on a role like a reviewer. So that's going to be someone who reviews code submissions for that area of the project and determines if they think they're good, if they need adjustment, and things like that. So you need some specific knowledge and trust and responsibility to be able to take on that role. And it requires a starting point of understanding maybe the programming language for that area, a little bit about how that area works, that kind of thing. I assume that the mentoring cohort for etcd is kind of in this area. Is that right?
That's spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. So, granted that, when most people hear there's a mentoring cohort, they immediately think, great, I'm a brand new contributor. I want to get help learning how to be a contributor, I will join this mentoring cohort. But that's actually not what most mentoring cohorts are. So why are mentoring cohorts not taking non-member contributors up to being contributors? There's a few reasons, and I'm going to dive into them a little bit. Like we said earlier, maintainers are always talking about how busy they are, and so obviously they need to train new people to help them out. Let's put that into context. Here are some numbers from DevStats about the project. Kubernetes, as of November of last year, had 94.8 thousand contributors, over 4.5 million contributions, and only 7.8 thousand reviewers. But remember, that's not who the mentoring cohort is meant to train. The mentoring cohort is generally like SIG chairs or tech leads or some other form of lead training members to become reviewers. So while that's 12 contributors per reviewer, it's 1,554 contributors per SIG chair who are the people doing this mentoring cohort. And while it's 328 contributions per reviewer, it's 41,900 contributions per SIG chair. So the numbers get big really fast. And adding on to that, most maintainers are at least partially volunteers. And if they are lucky enough to be paid to do some of their contribution, then their business probably wants them working on other things than mentoring sometimes. So you can see how the numbers get really big fast. And so our mentoring cohorts focus on uh, allowing SIG chairs a chance to mentor reviewers rather than mentoring folks from the very bottom of the diagram up. And one other thing I want to point out is that the vast majority of new contributors disappear and are never heard from again. And I wanted to dive into one thing we go over in new contributor orientation that a lot of folks relate to and might help you become a contributor. And it also relates to this issue of a lot of contributors disappearing and never showing up again. And we call it the good first issue trap. So the good first issue trap is something like this. You're a brand new contributor and you want to become a contributor. So you're going to pick up a good first issue in GitHub, get to work writing some code, and boom, you'll be a contributor. But that's often not really how it works. Often, when you pick up a good first issue, you should think about how are you actually going to complete that? So the Kubernetes community uses tools like our Prowlbot to help us manage issues. If you're a brand new contributor, you're probably not familiar with that. It's fine if you're not familiar with it, but it can be a hurdle for some folks to get over. So let's say you just start writing code. Ideally, reviewers, approvers, and owners, like we said, there aren't that many of them per contribution, but they should appear to make sure that your issue has all the right labels and stuff on it and to help you out with getting it to done. Once you've written the code, you'll also need to create the PR in GitHub. And if you've never worked in GitHub before, that can also be a bit of a challenge. So you'll then, once you have the PR in GitHub, have to go back and forth with those reviewers and approvers in order to get it done. So most contributions never get past all of this stuff that happens in the middle of getting a PR from created to done, which means that all of this awesome work that we really needed done that we had labeled as good first issues then goes back into the queue because it sat around for months and months and never got done, but it was something that we actually really needed. So that means that the SIG chairs and the reviewers and the approvers have to go back again, look at that thing and put it back into the queue, evaluate where it was, maybe reach out to the person who was working on it. So that's adding even more work on the plate of those maintainers. So you can see how the problem of new contributors appearing and then disappearing adds more work to maintainers' plates, which keeps them from mentoring folks sometimes. So that was the bad news. But let's talk about the good news. If it's not through a mentoring cohort or through a good first issue, how do you become a contributor? We have new contributor orientation to help you. This is meant to be one-to-many structured guidance to help brand new folks understand how to become a contributor. We go over what Kubernetes is, how the community is structured, what it means to be a contributor, current work opportunities that you might want to pick up, and those common contribution pitfalls like the good first issue trap we just mentioned. And another bit of good news for you, if you are looking to become a contributor who maybe didn't get selected for this mentoring cohort, any work that you do to support the community counts as a contribution. If you're here on this call right now, that's a contribution. If you're listening to it later, that's a contribution. So thank you and pat yourself on the back for contributing to Kubernetes today. Here are some examples of things that count as a contribution: taking notes during a meeting, asking a question on Slack, correcting an error in documentation, implementing a new feature or part of a feature obviously counts as a contribution. Commenting on a Kubernetes enhancement proposal or issue with your opinions or helping out with the review of that code. Filing an issue, writing a blog post, helping another contributor work through a problem. These are all things that are contributions, which sounds very vague. So what does it mean to be a contributor if all of that counts as contributions? And so we come back to the latter. We mentioned earlier non-member contributors. These are the kinds of things that non-member contributors do. They just pop in, do some of these things, not in a way that's structured. You may not know the project all that well, but you can still be a contributor. But from here, we usually go up to member. So membership means getting membership in the Kubernetes org. And involves having a couple of folks who are already contributors in the Kubernetes org vouch for your work. The idea of membership is that you're getting involved with a specific area and learning more about how that area works so that you can contribute to it in more structured ways. So the good news is that you've already started contributing by applying to the mentoring program or attending this meeting or doing whatever you're doing. Your next step is to seek org membership, which means joining a SIG and sticking with it. The fastest way to learn and make yourself useful is to find a SIG that suits your interests and just start getting involved there. That might not mean immediately picking up an issue and writing code. Often it means attending meetings, reading notes and existing issues, and just generally getting a feel for what that group does and how they do their work. So that's my quick overview of new contributor orientation and why you may or may not have been selected for this particular mentoring cohort, and why you might want to consider what mentoring means to the project. If you want more, join us for new contributor orientation sometime. We run it on the third Tuesday of every month for 2 different time zones. And we also have a playlist of the recordings, and there's a bunch of resources for brand new contributors right here. And you're always welcome to reach out to me on Slack. And that's all I've got for folks today.
Awesome. Thank you, Caslin. Just on behalf of the SIG, we really appreciate what you're doing with the orientations. It's a huge help for the community, and I'm sure there'll be some folks that can make use of that. Thank you. So I will pick up the screen share again. Give me a moment. All right, that should be on its way. Someone give me a little thumbs up or something if the screen share is updated again.
Looks good.
Looks good to
Thanks,
me.
Evan. All right. Cool. So let's get into it, team. We do have the announcements to go through now, so we will dive into those. Now, just a quick caveat. I think there are still 1 or 2 mentees who are still making some, or still reviewing the mentee list. But today was the day we'd planned, so let's go through and make the announcements that we can today. So first up, we have our mentor, Benjamin Wang, who is one of our tech leads. And congratulations to Arca, who's already well known in the etcd, SIG etcd community, who's going to be the new mentee for Benjamin for specifically the etcd operator. That is awesome. And next up, we have our new approver for SIG etcd, Fu Wei, who will be mentoring. It's a pretty funny GitHub name, Fat Sheep, but Zeki for Bbolt. Congratulations, it's awesome. And next, I have Ivan. Ivan's on the call with us today, and actually, I see Fu Wei as well. Yes. So Ivan's going to be mentoring Josh JMS on some CI and automation improvements for the project. And then we've got Merrick, also on the call today. So Merrick will be a mentor, and Merrick's one of our tech leads. Merrick will be mentoring two individuals, Henry and Kishan. Both are already contributors and well-known within the SIG. And then we've got Suan, who is also on the call, and Suan will be mentoring HWDef and I think it's Husni. Again, congratulations. That's covering Cluster FeatureGate and Augur. Okay, so team, I'm conscious a lot of those names that I've just mentioned aren't on the call in terms of the...
Hold on, that's not
Go ahead.
complete. So for Docs mentorships, we are still selecting candidates because a lot of candidates selected Docs also, and so we're going through the process determining who is interested in a documentation only mentorship and who is not. So we should have those folks selected by next week.
Thanks, Josh. Yes, there's a couple of selections still to go. That's all good. So I'm just conscious, team, a lot of those new mentees that I've just announced aren't on the call with us today. So we make sure we get this recording up, and just so that folks know, the next step is there will be an email that will come out. So that's going to confirm the announcements and just talk through the channels for the communications, meeting schedules, some of the way we'll track progress and cover feedback, that sort of thing. So there's the quick announcements, team. Can we just get a quick congratulations for those folks? It was a bit of a long journey to get to the point of making these announcements. We had a lot of applications. Thank you to everyone that put their applications in. It's fantastic news for the SIG, and it's a bit of a milestone to get this second cohort of the mentoring program underway, and I'm really looking forward to all those folks continuing their journey with the SIG. So on that note, I'll just pause, and if there's any questions or thoughts from the rest of the team, we can cover it now. Otherwise, we can move on to our next agenda item. All good. Okay. So next up, team, we've got a bit of a technical item to cover for the prefix search proposal that was recently raised on the etcd main repository. There's been a fair bit of discussion in there. I'm just wondering, Merrick, did you want to talk through this, given you've had a bit of discussion in here already?
I didn't know that we'll discuss this. So the question, do we want to discuss it as, or is the person that proposed it on the call, or do we want to discuss it as overall?
So I don't think we have Purple Idea on the call. I think perhaps we can just use this opportunity to just create a little bit of awareness about the idea that's been raised, and probably just reiterate a next step of what our enhancements process looks like, because I think this is probably a good candidate to maybe go through that process.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I try to answer why it's not a good idea to do that. Mostly because of like the direction of and how etcd distinguishes itself from other databases, and SQL databases in particular, and the author of the proposal asking in the end as to implement ORM, so it is object relational mapping, which is basically an idea from SQL databases. Yeah, I think discussion haven't finished. I haven't read the newest thing, but yeah, high level. I think that like the main thing for me that is most important is it's great to hear from other etcd user, non-Kubernetes etcd users, and we need to discuss the feedback, discuss the ideas, and maybe find what is the best solution. So here we've discussed the project for the GSOC being an alternative approach to solve the same problem. At this moment, I don't think there is a place to write a proposal. I think we are still early in discussions to do that. If you
Okay.
want a proposal, I could by a cap. I could write you a proposal by a cap because I've been discussing a couple of them, and I think there are a couple of ideas that could become a proposal. But yeah, I think this is still not yet baked enough to evolve into proposal.
Yes. Yeah, I understand. So it's certainly an interesting discussion. I'd encourage folks just to have a read through because there's a bit of discussion back and forth in the GitHub issue. For something of this magnitude, my expectation would be once a direction was kind of agreed, it would certainly go through the Kubernetes enhancements process in order to firm up a proper proposal and get the design right and get the right level of input into it.
This would have we would need the KEP process, right? Because this would have a long list of requirements. We're not looking at one PR here. We're looking at probably 3 years of work across multiple etcd releases. Because effectively he's asking for us to support user-defined secondary indexes, among other things, which has never been an etcd feature in the past. And once you have secondary indexes, then you actually need to be able to compact those indexes. And I will tell you that compaction on GIN indexes is no fun. It's not a solved problem in Postgres land, which introduced GIN indexes 11 years ago. So this feels like something we're going to end up putting out there and saying, hey, if somebody wants to do their PhD thesis on this, it would be awesome. But otherwise, it's not happening.
You scared me more than I was. I was not even like, now I'm even more scared.
Well, it's just because I worked on this in Postgres, right? He's saying, oh, Postgres has been doing this. I was like, yes. And you're looking at a decade of work in Postgres to support it. So it's not small. And some things still don't actually, at least we don't have Postgres' problem in that we don't have a cost-based optimizer, which is the major problem with GIN indexes in Postgres, is it turns out that cost-based optimization for key search is not a solved problem in the industry, period. And at least we wouldn't be contending with that. But yeah, I'll add a comment to their listing the number of things based on my experience with Postgres that would need to happen to make this possible.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, and the invitation is there, team. So anyone else that has ideas or views on this proposal, then please jump into the issue and join the discussion. Okay. How are we going for time? We need to probably jump forward. We do have one more agenda item from Ivan. Over to you, Ivan.
We only have 4 minutes and we don't have Benjamin here. Do we want to discuss it or?
I don't mind deferring. We're not on a clock for this one, right? We've got time to defer it to next fortnight, yeah?
So should we start the discussion or should we just push it to next community meeting? Because it will be great to hear both from Marek and Benjamin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's defer it to top of the list for next meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, team. So 3 minutes to go. Just lastly, any general business? Is there anyone on the call that would like to raise something that isn't on the agenda currently? over to the team. All good. Okay, so we can call it there, team. Thanks everyone for coming along. Hope to see you in the next session. Have a lovely rest of your day, and yeah, we'll see you later. Thank you.
Thanks, likewise. Bye.